So here we go again. Nobody should have gave me a cup of coffee. One thing of espresso, and here we are. Woo! So here we go. We're going to go into why early eras are less spoken of before the year of 2000. So in my last video, we spoke about how we always talk about 2,000 years ago something changed, 2,000 years ago this, 2,000 years ago that. Probably for the last 50 years, we've been talking about 2,000 years ago, okay? So we also cover like different ways of control, but 2,000 years ago in human history was a time of rebirth. Okay, it was a time of rebirth, and it was also a time of reestablishing with the cosmic alignment. So cosmic alignments, transits happen every 2160 years, so 2160 years. And so the powers that be understand, with the observatory that they have in different places, including the Vatican, they follow astrological transits. If you pay attention, there are many things that happen on days where the astrological transit are in working in their favor to put them in place. Elections, games, different types of laws go into place. Like, it's for a long time we have been told not that those things are actually, they don't exist, but in actuality they're not supposed to exist for us, because there is a spell of amnesia that has been put on the people that says you're not supposed to do this, and normally it's done with fear, shame, and guilt. But now we're about to get into it. So for power and control, why before 2000 years ago is not really spoken about. Knowledge was centralized under the empires and religious authority, so it was centralized. Okay, and so this is where you put things into like the priest's hands. Like, you have to go and you have to pray, and you have to like tell your sins to somebody so that you can be forgiven of your sins and told what to do to atone. Okay, ancient texts such as like Egyptian, Mesopotamia, and the pre-Christian Europe, they were destroyed, hidden, or erased. And most of the time, if they were hidden because it needed to be more studied. So you have to remember, the way that people are converted is, instead of the powers that be coming into a place when they take over, instead of banning everything, all of the practice, they blended them so that the people didn't feel like they were losing everything. They learned how to convert things over, giving people a little bit of something that they knew and introducing more of what they did not know as this new thing, giving them a fresh mind. Like, instead of like making a child think something is the worst, well, now someone passes away. Well, now that person's always in your heart and they're always with you in spirit. That's how we talk to not only children, but adults. And then this gave them an opportunity to control the story, control the identity, the belief, and the perceptions, and ultimately it forms an energetic power. When you have that type of power to control the identity, belief, and perception of a people, when you come up under a religious system, you take on a new identity. When your last name changes, you take on a new identity. When you go to a new job and you get a new position, you sign paperwork. Every time you sign something, you give up a new identity. You add on new personas so that your identity, those old identities are not renewed. They're actually converted into that new identity. And so it's like a stacking of blocks, but the blocks change color every time you add on. So they become something new. So every time you sign something that's a contract, some type of contract agreement, you are now not renewing something, you're establishing something new. And right now we're in a time of renewal. Right now everyone is saying, this is what I want. This is much like what happened, just after Egypt, Mesopotamia, and the old ways of Europe was in place, when they started trying to establish a one law, a one world order, a one world understanding. And something that I've never really understand is if we have a United Nations, why do they not make decisions for all the nations? If we're going to have a council like that, why do they not make decisions for everyone? But that was put in place as a mechanism to seem of seeming to be united, whereas there are decisions that are made on like as a higher council, but they still give freedoms, much like the conversion versus the banning. It seems as though you have freedoms, but you have freedoms within the constructs of the rules that have been put in place. So they understand that humanity goes through cycles of forgetting and remembering. They understand that it is described, Yugas is described as a Vedic tradition. And it talks about this where we're currently in a phase of resubmergence, and we're long hidden truths about energy, multidimensional existence, source creator as a higher than just having a God that's in church and confined to books. It's like a reawakening of collective consciousness, right? And so this is to reinforce the narratives. History was rewritten to uphold the structures of patriarchy, hierarchy, and separation, removing divine feminine, the universal field, and multidimensional understanding. This reinforced the idea that divinity exists outside of us rather than within us. So once again, putting us in a position to believe that we had to reach for something outside of us instead of what's already in us. There's no possible way for us to have a spirit if our spirit is not connected to the source creator, because that's what gives us life. Our soul is who we came here to be. Our spirit is like who we are within source. Okay, so this giving source creator God identity, making God more human. Like there's no one who's ever described God. There's no one who's ever like put a face or like the Bible even tries to give God's characteristics, but you have to understand, like, this is for to make things more human, to downgrade, to basically minimize who God truly is. Okay, like in the box. So here we go. It's a play on power. Every age of consciousness begins with an awakening, followed by an institutionalizing, then collapse, and then renewal. What we're currently working against right now is things are not really coming into institutionalization because people still have ties to these old religious practices. They want to have their cake and eat it too, stand on both sides of the fences and just in case they're wrong. Like this doubt is not yours. This self-doubt is not yours. And literally it puts you in and that's what causes collapse. When it is not unity, oneness, and a mindset, it causes collapse. And then we start this renewal process again where we're open to something that feels more united. And so the spell of amnesia feels, everyone converts to it and submits to it as though it's the thing that will give us the feeling of community, of love, of peace, of togetherness. And so this amnesia, this brainwashing thing that we do is literally like a crystallization of a belief system into dogma. So you literally are converting, it blocks the direct communication with source, which is what we are working against now. Like you have seen many creators go from being super spiritual to now going to get a job because they did not know how. They resubmerged themselves, got a job, entered into the same type of communities. Instead of like figuring out how to put things in practice, it doesn't mean that you don't need a job. What it means is that you need to know how to function within a community without losing your connection to source. You can have all this knowledge. You can go to college, get all this knowledge. But if you cannot apply it in daily life, then that's where things are lost. That's where things start to collapse. That is when there's a need for renewal because no one's no longer speaking the truth, and no one's telling someone how to be able to convert fully without losing your connection to source.